All right, so today we have a 2004 Toyota Tacoma. This has the 2.7 liter engine in it. So in previous videos, we fixed the AC system in it. So now what the concern is when he's idling with the AC on, the idle goes really low, shakes really bad. So we did a little glance around, and been a pretty long time since the last time this has had a tune-up. Fuel filter is rusty, it's hard to see, it may be original, which is kind of crazy. So what we're going to do is a basic tune-up here and try to improve the idle quality. We're going to do an air filter. We're going to do the PCV system, which is what sips the positive crankcase ventilation out of the engine into the intake. That gets a little gummy, that starts plugging up and stop being responsive. It's basically a check valve. So then we're also going to do spark plugs, the ends of the boots for the spark plugs, and then we're also going to do a fuel filter there. So we'll get going by removing the air filter and the air filter ducting. There's a couple bolts we have here because we need to access the top of the cylinder head there. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll remove the air filter housing. Got a couple clamps and one connector. So there's our air filter, a little dirty. And so we got two 12mm nuts under here. And so we have two 12mm nuts. That's what was holding this down. So we go ahead and remove some of these cables here out of the mounts. Ready? So go ahead and slip that out. We'll just lay it over here. So this is what we were trying to get. These are the coil. So each cylinder has its own coil. So we're going to go ahead and remove those coils now. Alright, so on these connectors, sometimes it's pretty hard to get it to release. I like to use a little flathead screwdriver just to help it out. All right, so there we have so this will be our coil. So our coil does have parts that we're going to replace. This will be the seal. That's what would sit right here. And then we have our boot. It's kind of like our spark plug wire. Then the other part of the boot would be this wire. Most times this is the problem. Just gets hot and shrinks up in there. So we'll go ahead and be replacing all that. And so we'll go ahead and we'll pull all of our coils out. Now these are all the same. So we can see we definitely had some issues. So this right here comes from water, oil blow by, things like that. You can see it pretty heavily up here. You can see our two centers definitely a little bit more seasoned than the outer, especially this one here. This right here would tell us that we have some kind of an oil problem. Not really a leak, but we definitely have a lot of vapor escaping there as part of the PCV system. So that's the oil vapor. So we'll go ahead and pull our spark plugs out. So we're going to kind of keep these in order as we pull them out, just in case we do see a problem. We know this second cylinder back is the one we were seeing a little different pattern on the ignition coil. Oh yeah, that plug was loose, so not tight. That could definitely contribute to what we were just seeing. Okay, so you can see that plug was definitely firing past. So that was not threaded in all the way. Okay, so here we have a brand new spark plug. This is a Denso that we got from Auto Parts Direct to You. Now we can see a little difference on this one here. We have a lot of very sharp edge on the electrode. All these other ones are pretty worn out. So spark jumps from sharp point to sharp point. So it is definitely worn those spark plugs out. As for the running condition, this right here is very bad. This can contribute to a lot of running issues. So you know, we'll have to reevaluate once we put it all in to see if our efforts were it, but definitely we know we had a problem here, without a doubt. All right, so normally on a spark plug, it's not on this vehicle, but sometimes you have some vehicle information here, and it will tell you what the spark plug's supposed to be gapped at. These are coilover plugs. You know, it is very specific. So this spark plug is recommended for this vehicle. They are supposed to come pre-gapped. They come with a protective case around them. I mean, this is a Denso. This is a high-end plug. It's one of your better plugs. So this is supposed to protect it while it's in the box to keep that. So they should be pre-gapped. You know, just in case, we would just kind of like glance at them and make sure that they are the same. It is just eyeball. If it's something that has a number on it, you want to check it for sure. So the spark plug has, this is a crush washer. It's mounted to the spark plug. And this is what gets our seal. So we had this one, wasn't very tight. So what we want to do is we want to put the plug in so that it is hand tight. You know, so it's seated. So now all we have to do is compress that washer. So when we want to compress that washer, once we get to a tight position, anywhere from a quarter to a half a rotation will be enough to squish it. Anything more than that, you know, we could be pulling threads. This is aluminum with a steel plug, so it'll pull the thread right out of the cylinder head if you keep going. So once it gets snug, See, we're pretty snug. Now a quarter to a half will get really good. So there's a quarter, and we're really tight, and that's crushed washer installed. Okay, so here we have a boot kit supplied by Auto Parts Direct U. The kit comes with a new seal, a new spring, and a new boot. So we'll go ahead and just pull the old boot off. Go ahead and pull our spring out. Go ahead and put our new spring in. Our new boot. And our retaining screw. And then we just plug our plug. So now that's one. Now we'll go ahead and do the other three. Okay, so underneath here is where we have that PCV. So we got one clamp. Kind of hard to see, but we did have a clamp there. See that oil pour out. We'll go ahead and plug our connectors in here while we're looking at them. All right, so we're going to go ahead and pull this. This is the PCV. We're going to go ahead and pull that one out. All right, so this is the PCV, positive crankcase ventilation. And you see the oil come up. So that's what this is. This is supposed to absorb the positive crankcase pressure while taking care of the oil vapor for the emissions problem. So it gets all gummed up and it stops to work. Let me got a new one from Auto Parts Direct U. It is just basically a check valve with a spring. So the way to tell, you can barely hear it, you can really hear it. Usually when they shake, you can hear it rattling around. That spring is not gummed up. So we'll go ahead and we'll replace this one. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and put the air filter housing and ducting back on. All right, so here we have our new air filter. Go ahead and install that. All right, so there's the air filter assembly and box in, and that takes care of the tune-up on this vehicle. So we'll go ahead and do a little test drive now and make sure that we did do an improvement there.